Welcome to First Words, a podcast presented by the First United Methodist Church of Florence. Today's message is brought to you by Associate Pastor Rev. Dr. Terry Stubbelfield.
We're doing a series of lessons on the faces of Jesus, and today we're going to talk about joy in God's house. Now let me tell you about my background. My family, grandparents, mom and dad, extended family, were all devout Christians in a work-oriented conservative church. And on top of that, my dad was a minister, so I was a preacher's kid. And we went to church every Sunday morning, every Sunday night, every Wednesday night. And in the summer, we went to church practically every night with revivals that we call gospel meetings all summer long. Now, some of the country churches were not air-conditioned. Many of the preachers preached long sermons, and we had to wear church clothes. And many times I thought the whole thing was dull and boring, and I was many times not happy, not glad to be there. I can remember during a long sermon on a hot night in New Liberty, Kentucky, we were listening to a well-known preacher named Foy E. Wallace. He was famous for long sermons. And I remember I kept tugging on my dad's sleeve and looking at his watch, and he thumped my head like a watermelon. I remember pulling on my dad's sleeve to get home on Sunday night so I could see what rock and roll band would be on the Ed Sullivan Show, and he didn't like that. I did like Vacation Bible School, and I often wondered why every church service couldn't be like Vacation Bible School. Well, many times to begin the service or before we went to our Sunday school classes, we would read or sing Psalms 122. And let me read you some of that. I was glad when they said to me, "Let us go to the house of the Lord. Our feet shall stand within. Peace will be in the walls, because the house of the Lord our God will cause me to seek good." Now, I felt guilty that I wasn't glad. My hope was that when I became an adult, mature, and responsible, that something magical would happen, and I would be glad when they said, "Let us go to the house of the Lord." And I was so disappointed when I became an adult that many adults, including me, do not find it an overwhelming joy to come into the house of the Lord. And maybe that's where our kids learn those feelings. Well, I can honestly tell you that I have found joy in this house of the Lord at First United Methodist Church of Florence. I wished I'd been in a children's and a youth program like we have here with Mariana and Mac. I love our church family, and it's church and family. And I found joy here. But let me tell you about a story I read. I read about a family that was getting ready for church on Sunday morning with the rush of breakfast and getting kids ready. Mom was ready, and she found her husband in the kitchen, not dressed, drinking coffee, and reading the paper. And she said, "What are you doing? It's nearly time to go to church." And he said, "I'm not going." And she said, "Why not?" He said, "I'll give you 3 reasons. I don't want to go. Those people don't like me, and I don't like them." And she said, "Well, I'll give you 3 reasons why you better go. Your mama taught you to go to church every Sunday. The Bible tells you to go to church, and you're the preacher." Well, have you ever witnessed an unknown or an unwelcome visitor coming into the worship service? Maybe they don't look like us. Maybe they don't act like us. Maybe they're impaired in some way, and it's hard not to appear offended. Now, Jesus had a knack for disrupting a party or a social gathering. 3 times in Luke's gospel, Pharisees invite Jesus into their homes, and every time it turns out bad for the host. In one party in Luke chapter 11, Jesus didn't do the washing hands ritual before he ate, and his host and his friends were astonished and offended. Well, what did Jesus do? He didn't apologize and wash his hands. Instead, he condemned them with 6 woes for their own impurity and hypocrisy. He said, "Woe to you who tithe but neglect justice. Woe to you who love to be noticed and respected and love the best seats in the synagogue. Woe to you who are like unmarked graves in unseen danger. Woe to you who make unrealistic demands of others, but you're not helping anybody. Woe to you who implicitly honor the sins of their ancestors, and woe to you from hiding the truth from people and missing it yourself." Well, in Luke chapter 7, Jesus was invited to eat at the house of a Pharisee. And during the meal, a woman described as a sinner came into the house and washes and wipes and kisses his feet. and his host was greatly offended. The nerve of Jesus to offend him in his own house. In Luke chapter 14 and 15, Jesus was invited to a meal of an important Pharisee, a leader. Large crowds had been following Jesus, and people described by the Pharisees as tax collectors and sinners had gathered around Jesus to listen to him. And they said, "Look at this. He welcomes these people and eats with them." And this time, Jesus responds not with woes, but with stories. And these are good stories. 3 back-to-back stories that remind us how God's talent for finding us is greater than our talent for getting lost. We have a story about a lost sheep, a lost coin, and a lost boy. Now, the lost sheep and the lost coin stories don't get the attention that the story of the lost boy does, the story we call the prodigal son. The lost sheep and the lost coin stories are short on details. They don't have the conflict and the drama that the lost son story has. So why does Jesus start with the stories of a lost sheep and a lost coin? Maybe these 2 stories with non-human characters are used because the listeners of these stories regard the sinners that Jesus hangs out with as less than human. But maybe the Pharisees connected with the lost sheep story because the owner of the sheep was successful. He had 100 sheep. Of course, he goes to find the sheep. Good for him. I may stop by his house to celebrate finding the sheep with him, but I can't stay long. I got things to do. Well, the lost coin story that Jesus told would be harder for them to appreciate. This is a poor woman. The coin wasn't worth much. She was of a lower class than the sheep owner. I probably won't make that party. I wonder if they understood what Jesus means when he said there would be more joy in heaven over one sinner that repents than over 99 who are not lost. I wonder if we understand that. I wonder if they understood that even the angels rejoice that the woman found her coin, and the angels rejoice when one sinner repents. And I wonder if we do. Well, the house of God is the place where God and people meet. Is it a place of joy? Maybe joy is not how we describe our faith. We think of ourselves as faithful people. We're willing to claim and defend our faith. Our faith gives us guidance for living. But is our faith a responsibility, a duty, or a joy? Can we say, I was glad when they said, let us go into the house of the Lord? Well, the third story that Jesus told is a story that we all know. I'm glad that on this Sunday we remember a day when the father ran to meet his wayward, dirty, hungry, beaten up son. And all of us have had those periods in life when we're in the pig pen. Our father runs to meet us. He celebrates with a party. He opens his arms to everyone who's bullied, is seeking, maybe doubting, and dirtied by the world. But God throws a party for everyone. There's a space for everyone. There's a space for the clean, the righteous, and the dirtiest of sinners. For the lost sheep, the hidden coin. And always there's rejoicing. Wherever God is, there is joy in the house. And God invites us into the place of joy. The father said to the lost son when he came home, I've been waiting for you. The father said to the other son, everything I have is yours. Always they're rejoicing. So may we be able to say, I was glad when they said to me, let us go into the house of the Lord.
Thank you for listening to First Words. For more information about our services or how to get involved in our community, visit us at fumcflorence.org or facebook.com/FlorenceFUMC.